At the end of March, EU milk quotas will be abolished after more than 30 years. This means no more limits on the volume of milk which each EU member state can produce. This will allow increased output without the threat of fines for overproduction. Dairies have already begun increasing output ahead of the change, and this has forced 8 member states to accept fines totaling €409 million in 2014 for overproduction during the 2013-14 milk year. The increased output will obviously lead to excess milk and therefore excess milk-derived ingredients. To maximize the opportunity the abolition provides, ingredient suppliers should be proactive in identifying markets, categories, and companies to whom they can offload their excess supply.
In taking the first step and identifying a target country, a good example dairy derivative for ingredient suppliers to consider is whey powder, an ingredient often used to increase the protein content of foods. Using Euromonitor's ingredient system, it can be seen that in terms of absolute volume growth, from 2008 to 2013, China was by far and away the #1 country for whey powder. Unfortunately, the demand in China is no secret, and several joint ventures between EU suppliers and Chinese dairies have already taken place, such as the tie-up between Friesland Campina and Haisan Dairy last year. In looking for a less obvious destination, ingredient suppliers might instead look at India, where whey powder had decent growth between 2008 and 2013, with a compound annual growth rate of 5.3%. However, in terms of absolute growth, India lagged behind several other countries. However, looking forward, India is forecast to only trail China and Brazil in terms of absolute volume growth of whey powder between 2013 and 2018. Additionally, India's compound annual growth rate is forecast to rise to 7.1%, indicating accelerating growth, while Brazil's compound annual growth rate falls from 6.2% to 4.2%. With a country identified, ingredient suppliers next need to find the most relevant product categories within the target country. Looking again at whey powder, this time focusing on its applications, we can pinpoint the product categories in India with the greatest whey powder use. These are flavored powder milk drinks, milk formula, chocolate confectionery, biscuits, and ice cream. Using Euromonitor's packaged food system, we can see that chocolate confectionery and ice cream have the greatest growth prospects, with forecast compound annual growth rates of 11.5% and 10.3% respectively from 2013 to 2018. It makes sense for EU ingredient suppliers to target manufacturers with interests in these high-growth product categories. The final step for ingredient suppliers, in order to take full advantage of the abolition of EU milk quotas, is to identify the best companies to target. Returning once more to the example of whey powder, we now know that opportunities lie in targeting brand owners with interests in chocolate confectionery and ice cream in India. Packaged food company shares show that the Indian chocolate confectionery market is dominated by 2 multinationals in Mondelez International and Nestlé. By looking at Euromonitor International's competitor analytics system, it can immediately be seen that in India, chocolate confectionery is by far the most important category to Mondelez, while it is of less significance to Nestlé. More significantly, looking again at the Mondelez tree map, the darker shading shows that from 2012 onwards, Mondelez has seen greater growth in chocolate confectionery than Nestlé. This is highlighted by the fact that chocolate confectionery on the Nestlé tree map is in a lighter shade of green. Nestlé's tree map also shows that despite being the second biggest player globally, it has no ice cream presence in India, while its biggest rival on a global level, Unilever, is placed second in this market. Nestlé will want to change this and capitalize on the growth forecast in Indian chocolate confectionery and ice cream. Doing this will require an increased supply of ingredients like whey powder, and this presents a substantial opportunity to EU dairy ingredient suppliers. Ingredient suppliers should apply this method to other dairy derivatives to uncover other opportunities and take full advantage of the end of EU milk quotas.